Good Shabbos, everyone. Good Shabbos. Wishing everyone the most beautiful and peaceful of Shabbatot. This is for the Shabbat of May 9th, which is the 22nd of Iyar. It is the 37th day of the Omer, this Shabbat. This week's parasha is Behar Behokotai. Behar Behokotai this is the closing parasha, two parashas together, closing of the book of Vayikra, of Sefer Vayikra, the book of Leviticus. In this week's Torah portion, we are commanded about, without a doubt, the most radical and idealistic mitzvah of all 613, in my opinion. So the Torah says in this week's parasha, Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe Bahar Sinai lemor, Daber el bnei Yisrael v'amarta alehem, Ki tavo'u el ha'aretz asher ani noten lachem, v'shavta ha'aretz Shabbat la'Adonai. When you enter the land that I assign to you, the land shall observe a Shabbat to Hashem. And then it says, Shesh shanim tizra sadecha, v'shesh shanim tizmor karmecha, ve'asafta tvuata. 6 years you may sow your field, and 6 years you may prune your vineyard, and gather it in the yield. Uvashana hashevi'it, Shabbat Shabbaton yiyeh la'aretz, Shabbat la'Adonai, sadecha lo tizra, v'karmecha lo tizmor. In the 7th year, the land shall have a Shabbat of complete rest, a Shabbat to Hashem, and you shall not sow your field or prune your vineyard. In addition, in these 7 years, you would release all indentured slaves. People would indenture themselves in order to pay off debts and get themselves back on their feet. And in the 7th year, all those indentured servants were released to freedom if they chose to go free. Once you count 7 cycles of those, also debts are released in the 7th year. So then we count 7 cycles of these 7 years, and we end up at the Yovel year, or what people call in English the Jubilee year. The Yovel year is like the Shemitah year, except that there's 2 years, and and in addition to the other laws, all land holdings are returned to their original landholder. All of this is a zecher. It's an indication, a reminder of, and an orientation toward this ideal way of being in the world that is expressed in the creation story and in our aspirations around Shabbat. So the creation story, Shabbat, the Shemitah year, the 7-year cycle, and the Yovel year, this 50-year cycle, are all tied as well to the giving of the Torah. So the Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah, which is what we celebrate on Shavuot. Most particularly at the giving of the Torah, at this time of year, we honor and remind ourselves of the awesomeness of having received the Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 utterances. And the giving of the Torah too is a zecher. It's thematically tied to the creation story. So as it says in this week's Pirkei Avot, it says Ba'asara ma'amarot nivra ha'olam. Ba'asara ma'amarot nivra ha'olam. With 10 utterances, the world was created. Umat Talmud lomar. And what does that come to teach you? V'halo b'ma'amar echad yochol lehibarot. Couldn't have God created the world just with one utterance? Ela lehipara min harisha'im sheme'abdin et ha'olam shenivra ba'asara ma'amarot v'litein sachar tov latzadikim shemekayemin et ha'olam shenivra ba'asara ma'amarot. So though it could have been taught with one utterance, it was taught that the world was created with 10 utterances, so that we can mete out punishment, or pay back. Someone will get their just rewards, their karmic rewards, for undoing the world that was created in 10 utterances, and those who build the world, who who bless the world that was created out of 10 utterances will also receive a karmic reward for this act. The 10 utterances that they're referring to here are the 10 times in the first chapter of Bereshit, the first chapter of Genesis, where the text says, Vayomer Elohim. This says, and Elohim spoke, or God spoke. So, for example, Vayomer Elohim Yehi Or, Vayhi Or. When God spoke and said, let there be light, and there was light. So there's actually 9 times that this is said in the first chapter. So there are various midrashic explanations about where the 10 comes from. So one is that the first word of the Torah, Bereshit, is the 10th utterance. So what we have then is this spiritual connection that's expressed in a literary connection between the creation of the world and the receiving of the 10 commandments. We have 10 ma'amarot, sayings that through which the world was created, and then we have the Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 utterances that were written on the luchot, the 2 tablets of stone. So in a way, the world is created again, or anew, or in a fulfilled kind of manner when the Torah is received, when the 10 utterances are received at Mount Sinai. The 10 ma'amarot, the 10 sayings from the book of Genesis, become this model of the sfirot. So this is the model of the sfirot here. So these are 10 utterances. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sometimes this higher one is not counted in the 10, so it'd be these down to Malchut. When we are counting the Omer, the 7 weeks, we look at these lower 7 amidot, the midot, these qualities, these virtues. These correspond to also as well to the 7 branches of the menorah and the 7 days of the week. But they are inherently connected to these 10, which are the basis for the 10 sayings or the 10 utterances that become sfirot as early as the 2nd century of the Common Era. So we're looking during this week, we take these 7 sfirot, Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut, and each week we think of one of these qualities, and then we reflect on it in its relationship to the other qualities. So Chesed is love, or expansive kindness. Gevura is bounding. It is a power energy. It is a warrior energy, a heroic energy. And Tiferet is beauty or splendor, magnificence. So Chesed is love. In the Kabbalistic system, love just wants to flow. It's like water. It just wants to flow everywhere. Gevura is the energy that contains or shapes the flow of the love. And Tiferet is what happens when those two, Tiferet is an active energy that tries to balance between the love and the boundaries, between Chesed and Gevura. Then we go to Netzach, which is endurance, or victory. Hod, which is, it means a kind of splendor, a luminosity, but we translate it sometimes as humility. And Yesod means foundation, connection. And finally, Malchut, which is dignity, sovereignty, life. It is associated with this world. So when we're counting, the first week, for example, is Chesed. So we're thinking all week long about our relationship to Chesed. Where do we stand? Where are we located in this map of this sfirot? And that's a way of doing cheshbon nefesh, of doing self-reflection. So Chesed means love, and on the first day you would be looking at the love of your love. The next day you'd be looking at the discipline of your love. The third day you'd be looking at the splendor, or the beauty, or the harmony of your love. And you keep moving down the chart, so then you're looking at the netzach of your chesed, the endurance of your chesed, the humility of your love, the foundation or connection of your love, and then the sovereignty or the dignity of your love. And so then you go to the next week, Gevura, then you're looking at your boundaries, and then you're considering your relationship to the love that is in your discipline, and then the discipline that is in your discipline, and then the splendor or beauty that is in your discipline, the endurance in your discipline, the humility in your discipline, the foundation and connection in your discipline, and finally the dignity or the sovereignty that is within your discipline. So we go through this admixture 7 times, one week for each sphira, and then each day of the week, 7 days of the week, is associated with a different admixture of that week's sphira plus the other elements of the sphirot. So again, those sphirot correspond, the lower 7 correspond with the 10 days, the 7 days of creation, as well as the 7 branches of the menorah. And is associated, of course, with all of these cycles of 7 that make up the Shemitah year and the Yovel year. So this is a basic rundown of what we're counting at this time, counting the Omer, the 50 days between Pesach and Shavuot. We have, as of this weekend, we'll have 13 days. As of Shabbat, we'll have 13 days until Shavuot, the commemoration of our receiving the Torah. So we are ultimately preparing ourselves to receive Torah again, and really receive it in a sort of primal way, in a sort of going back to the very beginning kind of way, going back to the creation of the world kind of way, aspiring towards, orienting ourselves towards the goal, which is to work ourselves toward a state of being pure and redeemed and innocent, really, in Gan Eden, and in as much as we can do that here in this world. So wishing everyone a Shabbat Shalom, and hope to see everyone on our Shavuot observances on the night of Thursday, May 21st.